As a rule, here at Wax Photo Video, we don't sell phones. The cameras on phones are normally pretty bad, so it's not something we specialise in. However, what if I was to tell you we are now going to be stocking a phone where, although having a pretty impressive camera module, that isn't its main feature in our eyes? Well, here it is. This is the Sony Xperia PRO. Now, some of you sort of gadget heads who have had your ears to the ground for a while will have seen this around the world. This has come out in other countries, but it has not been available in the UK up until now. And now, here at Wex, we've got the exclusive. We're bringing this phone to you, and it's pretty cool. Now, it is not going to be for everyone, this, right? You'll hear as I go through this video that this might not be for you, but it's a really impressive piece of tech. And I think even people who maybe don't purchase this are going to be interested in what this phone can offer. Now, I'm going to start off with the three main headlines. To start off with, this Xperia Pro can work as an external monitor. You can plug in via an HDMI port, don't often see that in a phone, into your camera, and then you can use it as an external monitor. There's some fantastic screen resolutions, color spacing, which we'll talk about later in this video as well. Secondly, it can make use of 5G technology to be able to transmit whatever you need it to transmit. But the specialist things that we're looking at here are going to be live streaming and also speeding up your transfer of images so you can make use of the FTP servers. Now that is going to be huge news for press photographers who need to get images out immediately, maybe don't always have access to a wired connection, or the Wi-Fi might be really, really slow where you are. It's great to know that this is going to allow you to do that. Thirdly, the design of this phone is created to enhance all of those technological features. Now, I'll go through this a little bit more, but notice that this isn't a glass and metal back. We don't have a rounded screen, and we've got this HDMI port. So there are things in this phone we just don't see in other models. All in all, not your standard phone, and it is a good job because this also doesn't come with a standard phone's price tag. I'm going to put the information so you can check out our store page in the description of this video. If you're watching on YouTube, there'll also be a little card for you to click on as well so you can take a look. Okay, it is a lot of money, but don't tune out straight away, right? Because this isn't a phone necessarily, this is a tool, a working professional's tool. And as I say, it's not going to be for everyone, but I think for the people who can make use of the features that it has, it's going to be an absolute godsend. Now, let's start off with some basics. This is still a phone, right? You can make phone calls with this. You can install Netflix, which I have done. You can install Spotify, you can listen to your music as you go, and then you can crack it out and it can become your professional tool as well, which I think is the impressive thing about this. It's the hybridness of the device, that it can be an everyday tool as well as something that's really special to you. Now, it does run a 4,000 milliamp battery. I've been testing this over the last couple of weeks. I've had it, but I've been using it a lot over the last sort of 3 or 4 days, and I've not charged it. It's on 37% at the moment, so I think that's pretty good, right? 37%, you think what our phones are generally now, like I've got my Samsung here and it's on 16%. It's on battery saver and I charged it at 11 o'clock this morning, so it's not great, right? However, to be fair, I haven't been using this as my standard phone, but I have been doing a lot of like video stuff with it, a lot of testing stuff, some screen recording, and I've just left it on as well for that whole time. So I'm pretty impressed with that. I think that's pretty good. I would say this has got an all-day battery with some pretty intensive use, and you can also put on an economy mode as well, which will highlight whatever you're doing and it will put the apps to sleep in the background and just make sure you're not wasting energy. So they have thought about it with this phone, but as you can see, it's a nice big device that has a nice big battery. We've also got a really impressive camera module here. Now, this isn't the main thing about this Xperia Pro, right? That's not, you're not buying it for this, but because this is from Sony, you'd expect this to be good, and it is. We have 3 lenses, which are all Zeiss T-Star lenses, and they all take 12 megapixel images. Doesn't seem like a lot, but you do not need more than that from a phone. I've been saying this for a long time. Small sensors, don't chuck loads of megapixels in there. It'll always look bad, especially in low light. So I'm happy with the 12 megapixel images from this. We've got a 16mm lens, a 24mm lens, and a 70mm lens. So it just allows you a little bit of range. I'm a big fan of having a wider end in a phone camera because I think if you're ever gonna need that really wide angle on demand, on your phone when you're out with friends or maybe when you're on a shoot, I think that's a really good thing to have. And what I've been saying is that if you are using this as a tool and you've got it in your bag to use as a tool, I think that 16mm lens will be great for if you're trying to show off a shot, maybe you're sending something over to your editor or your director isn't on set that day and you just want to send something over really, really quick. This allows you to get those images and send them over exactly what you're doing, and they'll be able to get a good idea of what you're looking at. So I think it's really useful to have that nice phone, the camera module in the back. And also it is worth pointing out that the AF technology that we see in the top end Sony cameras, that's what's inside of here. The eye autofocus is fantastic. I was filming with George the other day and it was just picking him up constantly. Even when he turned around and then flicked back round, it was picking up his eye. So I was really impressed with the camera on this. But now let's move on to the really exciting stuff, like the fact that this can be used as an external monitor. Now, having an external monitor that's this small and compact, but has this impressive screen size is a really nice, usable tool that if you're employing it into your setup, it's just not going to take up much extra space. It's so much easier than carrying a big Atomos around. However, it's got to perform, right? Now, there's lots of things on screen for you to be able to use when you're running the external monitor. You can flip it 180 degrees to suit your setup better. You can put in grid lines, you can adjust the brightness, things like that. However, why buy it over an Atomos or a small HD? Why would you do that? Because if you're using a monitor like this, it's normally because you need the quality, you need to be able to see the color and things like that, right? Well, this does have a 4K OLED screen. It can support a BT 2020 color space. There's lots built into this phone to make this a really nice monitoring solution. Now, I wanted to, I had a play with this in sunlight as well, and I was quite impressed with the brightness. I was pretty happy with that. Obviously, this isn't a matted screen. There's no sun guard, so there are some downsides as well. So I wanted to get Sean's point of view. So I popped this phone over to Sean, and these are his thoughts on the Xperia Pro being used as an external monitor.
The Sony Xperia Pro. Right, so before I get into the specs of what makes the monitor display on this thing really desirable for people looking for an external monitor for their camera, I also just want to mention that besides it just being an external monitor solution, it is also an on-the-go streaming device sort of solution as well. Because with this being a phone, with it having access to 4G and 5G, you're given some really reliable connections for outputting video online as live if you wanted to. And now I'm talking twitch.tv, I'm talking YouTube Live, I'm talking Facebook Live and Periscope for Twitter and applications like that. This is a phone that would be perfect for that kind of thing because with the HDMI that you plug straight through into your camera, you're getting an amazing picture quality signal straight there and then, which you don't often get with a phone. But with the HDMI, you've got a really good signal, and this signal offers a 10-bit picture quality. And just to clarify, when we're moving an 8-bit image and adding the extra 2 bits to it, what we're calling that is 10-bit tonal gradation. It's a software that is implemented within the phone itself, that when it receives its 8-bit image through the HDMI, it will basically smooth out the edges of those 8 bits that have been sampled and then boost it up to the equivalent of a 10-bit picture. And with that, outputting that 10-bit image to your online platforms, this becomes a very valuable tool for that. And besides the 10-bit malarkey, this also offers you a P3 display. And what that means is that on the color spectrum, you've got sRGB, which is a lot shorter than P3, but that's RGB is what a lot of people are accustomed to. If you think Rec 709, it's around that sort of range as well, a very limited color space that it can see. Whereas P3 can see a much wider range of colors, offering you a more vivid display. With all that said, the image quality expected from this phone is going to be very useful to anyone who decides to pick this up. And with it being a smartphone as well, just think about how often you bring your smartphone with you, not just out in the field, but just out in everyday life. And with this camera attached onto here and the kind of just the usability that you have with this, like, it's not a case of you're bringing your external monitor with your camera, you're bringing your camera with your external monitor. That's something to think about. Back to you, Amy.
I've already said this has a pretty good photo mode, which it does, but it also has a pro photo mode. We see that a lot in phones now. It basically allows you to change your settings so you can set your own exposure. I really like this, but I think it's especially important in a phone like this. Now, this is meant to be a tool that you take on shoot with you, and that means if you have that capability, you are able to send off images that are a correct exposure. Now that sounds really basic, but phones often get it wrong. They don't get the look that you're after. And if you're trying to show someone where you're about to shoot, or the color that you're getting behind you, or maybe the sunset that you're about to do your shoot on, sometimes it can be very frustrating if you can't show someone exactly how that's meant to be looking. And with that Photo Pro mode, you're able to do that. Also, I think kind of the point of this is to have your tool that you take out and you're shooting with professionally, but then also when you get on the train and you're going home and you can listen to your music, it's also nice to actually have a phone camera with you sometimes, and this has a good one that you have some control over, which as a professional photographer or videographer, that's really nice. Now, coming back to video, it also has a Cinema Pro mode. I really like that. So when you go into this, it actually gives you proper control over your projects. You can make projects on the phone, you can set the frame rates, shutter speeds. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a built-in ND, which is kind of annoying, so you do have to use your shutter speed for exposure, which doesn't make sense with the type of phone this is, but still, if I can get over that. And it does allow you to do different frame rates, and also even shoot in things like the Venice color space from Sony as well. So if you think of this, one, as a tool for yourself for creativity, okay, so one, for that reason, it's really fun, it's nice to use. But secondly, if you're on shoot and maybe a sports event or whatever, and things are getting a little bit too rowdy, or you can't have your main camera out, or something's gone wrong, that just allows you to get a bit of footage that you know is in the right frame rate that you can drop in an emergency. It's certainly fine if you're doing a bit of news gathering for socials, you can drop that in and you've got a little bit of grading capability. There are other color profiles that you can use as well, so you don't have to do as much grading. Gives you some things that are a little bit flatter for contrasty days. There's just a little bit of workable space there for you that gives you some other options, and that's what this phone's all about. It gives you tools, it gives you professional options that aren't what you see from normal phones, hence that incredibly high price tag. Now, in terms of just a quick overview of the design itself, and I've already spoken about the fact that this has that sort of plastic back and things like that, but there's also a couple of other things that I want to point out. One, this does have a fingerprint scanner here, so if you are doing, confidential stuff, you might want to make sure nobody's getting into this phone. Where your thumb sits here, that is a fingerprint reader. I found it works most of the time. Maybe I'm just holding it weird, or maybe my hands are too small to fit this well, but it can be a bit funny, but you can obviously use a pin if you want to. We've got volume keys here. What I like best is this button. Now, there is a slightly raised button here, which does have a bit of a textury feel to it, and you can basically use it as a shutter button, which again, you're not going to buy this specifically for the camera module, but if you have got this phone, that camera module is going to be a big plus. Now, I could talk about this all day. There's so much going on with this phone. It has fantastic specs as well, but this has been out for a while, right? This is out worldwide. We just haven't seen it in the UK before, but now you got us, you got Wax Photo Video, bringing you the exclusivity on the Xperia Pro. So make sure to check out all the info on our website. We've got so much information on there. I'll put a link in the description so you can have a look at that. And if this has taken your fancy and you're thinking, this is the perfect tool for me, it just makes things fast, it gives me the connectivity that I'm after, then you can also place an order through there as well. If you've got some more questions for us, you can of course give us a call, send us an email, or put a comment here. We'll try our best to get back to you with any information that you could need. Also, I've got this for a little while. When this video is released, I'll hopefully still have this phone if Sony haven't taken it away from me yet. So I'm hoping that I can answer any questions that you have if I haven't covered it or Sean hasn't covered it in this video. Of course, we have loads more content like this coming up. We're always expanding. We've got so much stuff on the channel already. So make sure to subscribe and click that little bell to turn on notifications so you don't miss anything that is upcoming. We love hearing from you guys, so make sure to keep commenting, talking to us on socials. We'd like to hear what you'd like to see next as well, so make sure to put that in the comments. And I hope you join me again very soon for some more videos from Wex Photo Video. Thanks for watching.